In this world, the mind is a mirror distorted by desire. Each thought clings to the next, as fleeting as the smoke from a dying candle, only to rise and fall, uncertain and restless, caught in a perpetual longing for what is never quite attainable. Look now, look closely. You have been chasing shadows. You have been running toward a phantom, hoping to grasp the essence of something that slips through your fingers forever. That elusive thing you call purpose, happiness, fulfillment, all names for a hunger that grows only with the feeding. The illusion of permanence is your greatest deception. It is not the world that betrays you. It is the mind's blind thirst for meaning, its unrelenting demand for something more, something better, something else. Yet, in this ceaseless craving, there is nothing to find but the bitter taste of futility. Life itself, in all its trappings, is no more than a transient passing of forces, a series of waves crashing against the shore of existence, only to recede, leaving behind no trace. How many times have you reached for the thing you thought would fulfill you? And how many times has it slipped away? How many times have you believed that this moment, this object, this experience could finally settle the aching restlessness that gnaws at the marrow of your being? Yet, you are no closer to rest than when you began. Desire, that phantom force that drives you, is not the means to freedom, but the very chain that binds you to suffering. You seek to escape yourself, but the more you reach outward, the more you are dragged inward toward the abyss of your own unquenchable need. And all the while, the world smiles, cold and indifferent, as if to say, is this not the eternal dance? Will you not tire of it? But you will not tire, for to tire would be to die before your time. The will that guides you toward one thing after another, it is the very will to continue, to persist, to affirm your existence in the face of the unrelenting tide of meaninglessness. You have been told that desire is the key to unlocking potential, that it is the fire that fuels creation, that it can bring you to heights unknown. But these promises are mere shadows cast by the light of illusion. Desire is not the path to greatness. It is the labyrinth through which you wander in vain. You grasp at something only to find that the object of your desire shifts, morphs into something else, always beyond your reach. Desire, when unexamined, is not the wellspring of achievement, but the illusion of fulfillment, forever just beyond your outstretched hands. And yet, you cannot stop. The impulse within you compels you forward, toward that glimmer of satisfaction that will never fully materialize. You build your life around these pursuits, constructing your sense of self from fragments of transient pleasures. But in your grasping, do you not see? You are the puppet, and your desires are the strings. Each achievement, each possession, each relationship, they are not the fruits of your will, but the consequences of an unexamined life. You are, in truth, the servant of your desires, bound by them in a way that you can scarcely comprehend. What happens when you stop? When you stop reaching, grasping, desiring, what then remains? The silence that answers is not the silence of resignation, but the stillness of release. What a strange relief there is in releasing the tension of constant striving. In that moment of release, you find not defeat, but an opening to what lies beyond the confines of your will. In letting go of the need to achieve, you come to know something deeper, something truer than the restless pursuit of meaning. You begin to perceive the world not as an object of desire to be conquered, but as a presence to be acknowledged, felt, and experienced as it is. The human soul is a strange thing, forever caught between the will to live and the realization of its own impermanence. You move through the world as though you are separate from it, seeking to impose your will upon it, as if you were the master of your fate. But look closer, you are not separate from it. You are part of the web of existence, woven into it by the very forces you seek to control. Your desires are not uniquely yours. They are the same impulses that flow through all of life, an endless repetition of striving, seeking, becoming until, at last, you see the futility of it all. Desire, when held too tightly, becomes the veil that obscures truth. It is not the path to power, but the shackles that bind you to illusion. If you could see clearly, truly see, you would know that the only power the will possesses is the power to obscure the truth of its own nature. The more you chase, the more it runs, the more you try to grasp, the more it slips through your fingers. In every moment of effort, there is the quiet whisper of defeat, for you are pursuing something that cannot be found. You are searching for something that does not exist, and in this search, you lose yourself not to the world, but to the relentless cycle of desire itself. But there is no shame in this. There is only the quiet, inevitable surrender to truth. And in this surrender, there is peace, not because you have achieved anything, but because you have ceased the struggle. You will not find liberation in the pursuit of something new, something better. You will find it in the moment you stop. The moment you stop fighting, stop reaching, stop desiring. For in that moment, you are free. You are not free because you have attained anything, but because you have let go of the need to attain. The desire for more, for better, for something else, it is the illusion that holds you captive. And when that illusion falls away, what remains is not emptiness, but the clarity of truth, that there is no need to reach for anything, for you are already everything you seek. The world does not owe you fulfillment. It does not owe you meaning. And yet, in the surrender of will, in the quiet acceptance of what is, you begin to see the subtle beauty that resides in the impermanence of things, the fleeting dance of life that passes before your eyes, too quickly to grasp, too fleeting to possess. The struggle itself, the ceaseless striving, the restless wanting, it is not your punishment, but your path. For in this struggle, you come to know yourself, not as an agent of power, but as an expression of life itself. It is through the breaking of the self that you are revealed to yourself. The more you break, the more you uncover the truth of who you are. And what you find, in the end, is not liberation in the form of accomplishment, but the freedom that comes from surrendering to the truth of your own limitations, to the quiet beauty of the transient, to the stillness that lies beyond the noise. This is the paradox of existence, that in giving up the struggle, in ceasing to chase the shadows of desire, you come to know the only truth worth knowing, that the journey itself is not the goal. The goal is to release the need for a goal. The goal is to see through the illusion of self and desire. The goal is to let go of everything, and in letting go, to be filled with everything. Not in the way you once imagined, through acquisition, but through the surrender of the very will that once sought to possess. So, let go. Let the will fall silent. And in that silence, in that stillness, you will find the truth that you have sought. Not in the reaching, but in the quiet return to what is. And in that truth, there is peace, not of the world, but of the soul. A peace that is not won, but given freely, like the fading light of the setting sun. There is a peculiar comfort in understanding the futility of our desires, yet it is a comfort few are willing to embrace. For what else is there to hold on to, if not that which we reach for, that which we cling to for a sense of purpose? To admit that it is all in vain, this is the abyss that the mind fears. Yet in this abyss, there is a strange solace. You have sought meaning, but meaning is not to be found in the grasping. The more you search, the more you reveal the emptiness of the pursuit. We live our lives under the illusion of progress, as if each step forward is a step towards something greater, more real, more substantial. But all progress, all forward motion, is an illusion spun from the very fabric of the will. You chase the shadow of a future that never arrives, and the present slips through your fingers like sand, never held long enough to be understood. Time does not pass. It simply is. It is not the river you swim in, but the endless horizon that taunts you from the edge of perception. Desire binds you, yes, but more insidiously, it defines you. You build the very structure of your existence around what you think you lack, constructing yourself from the fragments of promises that the world has made, promises that remain forever unkept. What you desire today, you will desire tomorrow, and what you possess today will become the thing you discard tomorrow, as you march towards some imagined more. Yet, what can you do but continue? What else is there but the eternal renewal of striving, the unbroken cycle of becoming? You cannot stop, For to stop is to confront the emptiness beneath the surface, the vast chasm of indifference that lies beneath the mask of selfhood. To cease desiring is to cease being, or so it seems. But how strange it is that in the ceaseless desire to become something else, you overlook the possibility that in remaining as you are, in accepting the void of your existence, there might be a deeper truth, a richer experience, a more profound peace. The truth, though, is rarely what we expect it to be. It does not fit the shape of our desires, nor does it answer our questions. It does not offer us clarity, but instead the cold, indifferent gaze of reality. It is not kind, it is not merciful, it does not reward us for our striving. And yet, it is in this very truth, this unadorned, unyielding truth, that you are most truly yourself. Not the self that is molded by desire, but the self that exists when all striving ceases. And so, you are left in this strange position, caught between the unbearable weight of your own will and the cold recognition that none of this matters. The very thing you have clung to for meaning your work, your success, your relationships, they are not the pillars of your existence. They are as fleeting as the wind. In a moment, they will slip away, or perhaps you will let them go, having learned that they are not the source of your peace, but the source of your chains. The more you hold on, the more tightly you imprison yourself. The more you grasp, the less you are able to feel what is truly real. What is truly real then? It is not to be found in the things of the world. It is to be found in the emptiness that you fear. But the mind resists this. It fights against the void with the strength of 1,000 storms. It wants something, anything, to grasp, to claim as its own. For what is the self without its desires? What is the self without its stories, its possessions, its future promises? The self, in truth, is nothing more than a shadow cast by the flickering flame of the will. The more you chase the flame, the more it dances out of your reach. And so you remain forever bound in a cycle of seeking that will never be resolved. This is the tragic beauty of your existence. You cannot escape the will. You cannot escape desire. You are a prisoner of your own mind, forever circling, forever reaching, forever grasping for something that can never be found. The relief, then, is not in the achievement of desire, but in the realization that it is in the grasping itself that you are ensnared. The moment you cease to reach, the moment you let go of the illusion of fulfillment, you step outside of the game altogether. But the mind resists this surrender, for it has been taught that to cease is to die, to stop is to cease to be. And yet, what is the self that seeks, if not the will to exist? Does it not perish with every object it seeks to attain? Does it not fade with every desire that is fulfilled or abandoned? The self you so desperately cling to is not a fixed entity. It is but a flicker of consciousness, passing through the world like the shadow of a cloud drifting across the sky. Your desires do not define you. Your thoughts do not define you. The truth of who you are is beyond the mind's grasp, beyond the will's reach. It is silent, still, like the space between the notes of a song unnoticed by the ear, but always there, holding the melody together. In your search for meaning, you have missed the simple fact that there is no meaning to be found in the objects of desire. There is no meaning in possession, no meaning in achievement, no meaning in accumulation. All of these are transient, fleeting, like the delicate petals of a flower that wither as soon as they bloom. And yet, you continue to seek. You continue to run toward that which fades, toward that which cannot be held. The world, in its quiet indifference, continues to turn, and you are caught in the flow, hoping that the next moment will bring the satisfaction you crave. But no moment will, no object will, no achievement will. The mind, with all its clever tricks, cannot escape the fundamental truth of its own existence. It is caught in a web of desires that it cannot escape. And so, you will continue to seek. But in seeking, you will find nothing but the quiet echo of your own emptiness. You will find that the more you acquire, the more you are consumed by that very hunger. And yet, even in this, there is a strange beauty, the beauty of truth, of acceptance, of surrender. For in surrendering the need to grasp, in accepting the fleeting nature of all things, you come to know a deeper peace. Not the peace of acquisition, not the peace of victory, but the peace of the silent, unspoken truth that you are already enough. Thus, the will is not your enemy, but the very source of your awareness. The more it drives you, the more it reveals your limitations, your weaknesses, your fragile nature. And in that revelation, there is the quiet birth of wisdom, the wisdom that knows, not through the attainment of things, but through the surrender of the will to the truth of what is. And in this surrender, you are no longer bound by desire, you are no longer bound by the self that seeks. You are free, not because you have conquered the world, but because you have accepted that the world, in all its fleetingness, has no power over you. You are free because, in surrendering to the truth of your own impermanence, you find yourself in the stillness of acceptance, where nothing is required, nothing is wanted, and all is as it is. And so, you remain in the quiet darkness, with nothing more to seek, nothing more to possess. The will is silent, the mind is still, and in this stillness, you are finally at peace. The world you perceive is but a fleeting illusion, crafted by the restless hand of the will. It is but a veil draped over the abyss of nothingness, trembling at the edges of reality. Everything you know, the objects, the thoughts, the desires, they are but reflections in a shallow pool. You have been taught to chase these reflections as if they were substance, but they are not substance. They are but the restless echo of the will, the fevered attempt to give form to a void that cannot be filled. And so you reach, you grasp, you run toward that which you can never possess. Yet, have you ever wondered what lies beyond the veil, beyond the pursuit, beyond the will's insatiable gnawing? There is a place of silence, a place where all the striving dissolves into the nothingness from which it arose. It is not a place you can reach by force, not a place you can carve out with your desires. It is a place that waits, patient and still, at the very core of your being, beneath the clamor of thought and the desperate hunger of the will. The more you struggle to escape it, the more it pulls you into its embrace. The more you reach for something to make your life whole, the further you stray from the only truth that can truly satisfy you. You cannot outrun the truth. It is not an enemy to be defeated, but a reality to be accepted. And in the acceptance of this truth, there is a kind of relief, a relief that has no joy, no pleasure, no satisfaction, but only the cold, quiet peace of resignation. The will is not yours to command. It is a force beyond your control, a shadow that haunts you, a hunger that drives you forward, yet leaves you starving. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you cease to run, when you no longer seek to conquer or possess? What happens when you simply let go and surrender to the truth of your own condition? In the stillness that follows, there is no triumph, there is no victory. There is only the quiet realization that you are not what you thought you were. You are not the sum of your desires, nor are you the stories you have told yourself. You are not the self that seeks, not the self that wants. You are the silent witness to the passage of time, to the ebb and flow of existence. You are the emptiness that pervades everything, the vast, unfeeling void that is not nothing, but beyond all things. The truth, when finally recognized, is not comforting, it is not kind. It does not reward you for your struggles. It does not give you meaning, for meaning is but a construct of the will, an illusion that has no place in the world of reality. The world does not care for your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions. It does not care for your suffering, your victories, or your failures. It simply is, indifferent and unmoved by the feeble stirrings of your desires. And in this indifference, you are free, not free in the way the mind desires, not free from the chains of circumstance, but free in the quiet, simple truth that you are nothing more than a fleeting breath in the vastness of time. The will to live, the will to strive, the will to be something, all of these are but transient impulses, fleeting sparks in the cold night of existence. They arise and fall, like the waves of the ocean, never lasting, never still. You try to hold on, to make them last, but they slip through your fingers, leaving only the residue of longing. And so the question remains, what is the point of it all? What is the point of the endless striving, the constant reaching, the never-ending pursuit of more? The answer, if there is one, lies not in the attainment of anything, but in the recognition that the striving itself is the cause of your suffering. To cease the striving, to cease the reaching, is to step outside the cycle of desire, to find peace in the absence of the self. And yet, even as you surrender, the mind continues its restless motion. The will never truly ceases. It continues, always seeking, always desiring, always striving for something. And so, the question returns. What is the point of this? What is the meaning of existence if we are condemned to forever reach, forever desire, forever strive? The answer is not one you will find in the world, not one you will find in objects or experiences, not one you will find in the promises of others. It is a question that can only be answered in the silence, in the space between thoughts, in the stillness that lies beyond the will. And in that stillness, the answer is not words, not meaning, not knowledge. It is simply the knowing that there is nothing to know, that there is nothing to attain, that there is only what is, in all its impermanence and transience. The will to live, the will to strive, the will to be, they are not your enemy. They are not the source of your suffering, but the means by which you come to know the truth. For it is through the struggle, through the endless grasping, that you come to realize that none of it matters. The more you strive, the more you see the emptiness beneath it all. And in that realization, there is the quiet release of the will. Not the will to live, but the will to be free of the illusion of self. The will to stop seeking, to stop desiring, to stop trying to become something. In that release, there is no peace of mind, no joy of discovery, no sense of accomplishment. There is only the cold, dispassionate clarity of truth, a truth that has no beginning and no end, no cause and no effect. It is simply the truth of what is. The world is not yours to possess, and neither are you. The self that you cling to is a mirage, a fleeting shadow cast upon the landscape of existence. The more you chase it, the further it slips away, until at last you see that it was never real. And in this seeing, there is a moment of quiet understanding, of quiet acceptance. The desire to become something, to acquire something, to reach some distant shore, it is all a mirage. And when you finally see this, when you truly see it, there is nothing left to reach for. There is only the silent truth of what is unadorned by the will, untouched by desire. And in that truth, there is no self, no subject, no object, no striving, no becoming. There is only the stillness of being, the quiet presence of existence, that exists beyond all understanding, beyond all thought, beyond all will. And in this stillness, you are free. Not free in the way you once imagined, not free to pursue anything, but free from the very need to pursue, free from the endless chase that defined your existence, free from the desire to be something, to become something. You are free, not because you have achieved anything, but because you have let go of the very thing that bound you to the illusion, the will itself. The truth is not a destination. It is not something to be reached or acquired. It is not a prize for those who strive or seek. It is simply what remains when all striving ceases, when all desire falls away, when the self is no longer clung to. It is the emptiness beneath the noise, the silence between the thoughts, the stillness in which everything is contained and nothing is held. And in that stillness, there is peace, not the peace of the world, but the peace of truth, the peace of release, the peace of the soul that has let go of its chains. This is the paradox of existence. You are bound by the will, and yet in releasing it, you are free. You are caught in the web of desire, and yet in seeing the futility of desire, you step outside the web altogether. And in that moment of release, you are not liberated, for there is no longer a self to be liberated. There is only the truth, vast and unchanging, ever present, ever still, ever beyond the reach of desire. In this truth, there is no answer, no explanation, no meaning. There is only what is, and in that, there is everything. There is peace. And so, in this quiet surrender, there is no triumph, no victory to be celebrated, for there is nothing left to conquer. No desire remains to pull you onwards, no will to push you forward. In this moment of clarity, you see that there was never anything to attain, no heights to scale, no depths to plumb. What you thought was your life, your journey, your struggle it was, but the frantic pulse of an illusion, a phantom driven by a hunger that could never be satisfied. And now, as the will fades, as the grip of desire loosens, there is only this profound stillness, a silence that does not promise anything, but simply is. It is in this stillness, this absence of striving, that you find the peace that had eluded you for so long. But it is not a peace of accomplishment. It is not a peace born of victory or acquisition. It is a peace that arises from the absence of the self, from the shedding of the skin that once encased you, from the fading away of that restless, searching mind. In this peace, there is no subject to experience it, no object to possess it. There is no self to claim it, no desire to chase it. There is only the quiet truth that lingers, like the fading light of a candle in the darkest hour of the night. You are no longer what you thought you were. You are no longer the sum of your desires, nor the reflection of the images you have chased. You are no longer the one who yearned, the one who sought, the one who reached for something beyond. You are simply the silence that remains after the noise of striving has passed, the emptiness that fills the space where once there was need. In this emptiness, you are at last free, not because you have overcome the world, but because you have ceased to struggle against it. Not because you have conquered the self, but because you have seen through the self's illusion. The world will continue, indifferent to your realization. The cycles of life will turn, the seasons will shift, the sun will rise and set, as it always has and as it always will. And you, in your quiet corner of existence, will remain, not as a separate self, not as a subject to experience, but as the witness to the endless unfolding of time. You are not the actor on the stage, but the audience who has ceased to watch. For there is nothing left to watch, there is nothing left to seek, nothing left to desire, nothing left to possess. There is only the vastness of what is the moment as it is, the world as it is, and you, at last, as you are, empty and full at once. The search for meaning, the pursuit of fulfillment, the relentless chase of desire, it has all faded, leaving only this singular truth that there is no meaning, and yet there is everything. There is no fulfillment, and yet the void is complete. There is no self, and yet you remain. You remain not as a separate entity, but as the very space in which all things exist, the stillness that contains the noise, the silence that holds the sound. You are the witness, not of the world, but of the ceasing of the need to witness. And in this ceasing, there is a release so profound, so absolute, that it feels as though the world itself has vanished, leaving only the faintest echo of existence, like the last breath of a dying wind. The self, the will, the desire, they are gone. But what is left? What remains in the wake of this dissolution? There is only the quiet, knowing that what remains is not something to be held, not something to be understood, not something to be grasped. It is not a thing at all. It is the absence of things. It is the stillness that exists before and after the world itself. It is the silence beneath the noise. It is the void that contains everything, and yet nothing at all. And so there is peace, but not the peace of a promise fulfilled, not the peace of a battle won, not the peace of a desire satisfied. It is the peace of release, the peace of surrender, the peace of knowing that there was nothing to fight for, nothing to desire, nothing to be. There is no self to claim this peace, for the self is gone. There is only the truth of what is, that nothing ever was, and yet in this nothingness everything is. You have sought for meaning, for purpose, for something to hold on to, but in the end there is nothing to hold, for nothing is real, and yet all is real. There is no meaning in the objects of your desires, no meaning in the thoughts that once defined you, no meaning in the self that you believed was yours to possess. There is only the vast, unbroken truth, the truth that arises in the stillness, the truth that exists when all striving ceases, when all desire falls away, when the self has dissolved into the nothingness from which it came. And in this truth, there is no final answer, no ultimate goal, no sense of closure. There is only the eternal present, the endless now, in which all things arise and pass away. The self is but a shadow cast upon the world, and when the light fades, the shadow is no more. But the light itself remains ever present, ever still, ever beyond the reach of desire. It is not a thing to be known, not a thing to be grasped. It simply is, and in its being, all things find their place. And so, you are left, not as a self, but as the stillness that remained after the self has vanished. Not as the seeker, but as the one who has found nothing, and in that nothingness found everything. Not as the one who desires, but as the one who simply is, in the silence of the world, in the quiet truth of existence, where nothing is needed, where nothing is sought, where nothing is ever attained. And in this there is peace. There is only the peace of surrender, the peace of truth, the peace of the empty, the still, the eternal now.